Okay everyone, I hope you're all doing well. So I guess we're gonna start off today with another 20 minutes of just reviewing what we did yesterday, and we'll also have to go over the homework. So let's go over the game and let's make it. And while we're making it, we'll go over all the concepts. We talked about loops quite a bit last time actually. Let me just review them for a bit. In every programming language, there are actually two ways to use loops. There are two types of loops. There are while loops and there are for loops. We won't be covering while loops in this course because we won't have time to cover them. But we did cover for loops, and we'll talk about for loops a lot more today. And in Python, there are two ways to use for loops, and we showed you both of the ways last time. Say if we had an array or a list. A list can have whatever it needs to have inside. I mean, it can have any data type. It can have any number of elements. It's a list. So, when you're using a for loop, you're iterating through. You're doing what we call iterating over the list. So you create a variable, and this variable has to the variable you create here cannot be used anywhere else in your code. And most often, programmers use the variable I. Well, when we're using for loops, and then you would do for I in the list 1, and then you would add the colon here, and that colon is very important. For I in list 1, and then colon, and then if you hit enter, everything should be tabbed over 1, and anything you write in this for loop will be run repeatedly. And what a loop is it's just some code that's run over and over again. And in a for loop, you can specify the number of times you want it to run. And when you're doing for I in list 1, you're telling the for loop to run 4 times, one time for every element in the list. So if I do print I and I hit run, you should see 1, 2, true and false. So what's happening here is the for loop is going through the list, and first initially it sets I equal to 1, and then it runs this code, the code in your for loop. And what we're doing here is we're printing I, so it's printing 1 to the screen. And then after this iteration, that's what we call it, of the code ends, it has to repeat. And next time it sets I equal to 2, and then it runs the same code. It runs the code in the for loop again. And since we're printing I now, I is equal to 2, so we print 2 to the screen. And then we do this for every element in the array. And that's what a for loop does. It runs code repeatedly for a fixed number of times, and in this case it's 4 times because that's the length of our list. So what we have to do here is we have to use the range function, and we do range. We have to use range 5. We have to do this, and basically what the range, this is the same thing as this. So when we do range, right? When we do range, say range 4 or whatever, right? Range 4 is the same thing as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So range 4 just gives us this. It's the same thing as that. And that's what happens when we give it one parameter, or when we put one number inside the range function. What if we put 2 numbers? If we did 1 to 4, it would be 1, 2, 3. So let's test it out. Okay. So if we paste range 1, 4 here, let's see what it gives us. It gives us 1, 2, 3. Yes. So range 1 to 5 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or without the 5. So it starts at the first number, and then it goes, it's every number until the last number, but it doesn't include the last number. And when we just put in one parameter, say it's just 5, then it starts at 0, and it goes to the number before 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, it doesn't include 5. So range is just basically a way of writing these lists, or it's a substitute for this.